speak.
All right.
Hello.
Action.
All right, so tell us about the IT Pathway Day.
Recently, we had an IT Pathway Day in the summer. We started out small this year just to kind of test it out. We had a lot of professors from across the district from various disciplines in IT come and introduce themselves to a group of high schoolers from all over. This event was spearheaded by Silas Henneman, our Pathway Navigator. So he reached out to those various high schools. It was quite a big showing. I was surprised how many students showed up who actually had signed up. We had introductions by faculty, followed by an interactive get to know fun things that can happen in classes. They took them on a scavenger hunt across campus. They had a Jeopardy about things IT and cybersecurity. It was really fun to get the students engaged. Of course, we fed them, and when we fed them, we also had a panel of our industry from our from our advisory board. We had a few of our business leaders come in, and a lovely panel. Students asked questions. They gave a lot of great responses. We even had former students and current students who did internships or just recently got jobs come and talk to the students, answer their questions about things in the field. The students seemed very excited, especially by that connection to industry. And then we wrapped up the day and in various locations helping students register for classes and answering their advising questions. So all of our advisors participated, which was excellent, and the students really were excited to get all those little questions answered face to face with a person.
Do you want to say the thing about lunch and the advisory board one more time, so it's
Yeah.
all in complete
Yeah,
sense?
thank you.
So you just pop that part back out, so
Yeah.
in case.
So when we fed them lunch, we also had them meet with,
Fed who?
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Also, when we fed the students lunch, we also had a panel of business leaders, some were from our advisory board, to answer questions about what it's like to work in industry and any other questions they might have about the career path that they're looking at.
Perfect. That's perfect. You said you were surprised by how many students showed up?
Yes.
Kind of, right? Like,
Yeah.
can you talk about, like, why you felt, like, what happened that, was it post-pandemic that they decided to come back, or why do you think so many showed up?
I think so many students signed up and showed up. They're just ready to be back in person after the few years of isolation, and they were very much excited to get into the in-person classes, so much so that right before this event I had to add several in-person classes, and those a lot of those filled up that day when we had those students signing up for their classes. So.
Awesome. That's a great thing to know. Were you there any questions?
Nope. Oh, I did, but.
Those were my problems. Collaborations. Yeah, I think so.
So, I'm trying to think how I was going to get to that. What was the goal of the day in bringing these students to campus and having faculty involved? And repeat my question. Sorry.
So I think our overall goal of our Pathway Day in getting the students in the room and with faculty telling them a little bit about their areas and talking to former students and industry leaders was for them to get a bigger picture of what they're going into and maybe help them decide an earlier path, but also to know that whatever path they're on, it's just a sidestep to that something else they might have heard of that day, that once they get into their classes they decided, well, you know, cyber sounded more interesting, can I do that? Or maybe they're in cyber and they really like programming and they're like, yeah, I can do that. We're all at the same day together. So.
Money.
That was it.
That's amazing. That answer's going in.
Talk to us about how you've designed your program with stackable credentials. And say the program name.
All right. In our program in the computer science department, we have a computer information system, CISAAS. When I first started at DMAC, we didn't even call it CIS AAS, and we felt that was a disconnect and didn't help students understand it was our programming degree. There were several tracks in that programming degree, and we felt that students had too many choices in one little degree because it talked about going into web development or programming. Since we already have a web development program, we were doing double duty there. We didn't need that. We really streamlined that degree. We have one path for that programmer. That programmer can still do programming, be a business analyst, be a quality assurance tester, project management, so many other options with that foundation. Of course, we relied on our advisory board to help us through that streamlining of our CIS AAS to make it so that it fit all of those different careers. In that, we also developed certificates to go along with our 4 programming languages that we teach. So we have 4 certificates for that: Python, Java, C++, and C#. We also have a computer languages diploma that focuses more on the programming, whereas our CIS AAS also has our business, our data structures, and some other classes to prepare the student for the programming field. With all of that, as students move along, all we have to do is put them on the CIS path, and they'll just pick up those credentials as they go along. So when they walk out, they're likely going to have a CIS AAS, their diploma, and at least 2 certificates, if not more, if they chose their electives correctly.
Awesome. Can you talk about how, like, what's the student response been to this, the streamlined, the stackables? Like, have students been appreciative of that? Have they
Students really love the stackable credentials because at some point they'll have finished a certificate in their first year. They have something to show for it. It's kind of that they need to keep going. It's also something they can put on that resume right away to go get that internship while they're working on their second year. And they love having all of those credentials show up on their transcripts that they can also outline on their resume when they're done at DMAC and go off to the workforce.
Awesome. You're killing it. You're absolutely killing it.
We've got everything.
Yeah, I think that's all we need.
All right.
Amazing. You want to be done?
Yeah, I do. That's great.
No.
Hey, I'm efficient.
That was stellar. Perfect for us.
Yep.
Well, awesome. Glad I could help.